reformer. I'm a leadership strategist and an apostolic voice for achieving high-ranking success and penetrating power in your sphere of influence. And I am particularly called to help those of you who are wanting to scale the 7 mountains, who want to bring your gifts, your products, your visions, your services, and all that you carry to the peak of culture. It's time for you and I to move out of the back, off of the side, out of the valley, and to the top of the 7 mountains that mold and shape culture. So you and I are together in this. If you're on this scope, this is our focus. And for this 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, a portion of our Power Scope, we deal with coaching matters. We take an issue, 1 week of just continually looking at one angle around one particular topic, and we drive it in. I mean, we look at it for what it really is, because 7 mountains consist of these. Those of you that are new with me, we talk about the 7 mountains. Jesus was first given these, or given this understanding, and not even given it to him, but let's say he dealt with it. Let's say he dealt with the issue of the 7 mountains as we understand them in Luke chapter 4. And what Jesus is doing is he's been pulled and taken into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. He is brought into this environment to test several tons of his attitude, his magnitude, his platitude, his ability to answer and to defend who he is. His identity is going to be challenged. His patience is going to be challenged. His word ability to bring forth the word, to recall and live that out as the true living God is going to be tested, because he's now both man and God. And what I'm saying to you is we're going to be tested as well in our attitude. We're going to have to understand, what are we carrying? And then when the pressure comes and we're in the wilderness of our ministry, or in the wilderness situations in our family, or in the wilderness of our marketplace business, we need to know how to rise up with attitude and make the adjustments needed to advance. That becomes very critical. So here on Power Scope today, we're looking at that. Adjustments need to be made to attitudes so that we can advance. Attitudes are really the critical piece of what we carry. I found this quote. Give me a minute to pull it up for you so that I can look at it, because I thought, oh, this is really good. Making sure that I could pull this out. Let me see if I can find this quote for you, because it's so good what people are saying all over the planet about attitude. It's one of those big, I call it radagahungas. It's like those big things that make a difference in our life. Let me see if I can pull it up. It's kind of taking its time. But here, what I do know and what I do understand is that we have to understand what attitude is first. Let me go back before I pull that quote in, because it's taking time to load. And here's what I know, that attitude is a predisposition or a tendency to respond positively, or negatively towards a certain idea, object, person, or situation. Attitude influences an individual's choice, actions, and response to challenges, incentives, and listen to this, and coming rewards. So we need to adjust our attitude, because our reward is connected to it. If you've been really grinding, if you've been really going in, if you've been working hard, if you've been really wanting something, if you've been really praying, if you've been really just prophesying over yourself, encouraging yourself, and then something comes in to challenge your attitude, you need to deal with your attitude, because your reward is right behind that situation. Your reward is right behind it based on your attitude. That's going to be your, watch this, your elevation. It's going to be how you elevate, how you get to the greater thing, how you take hold, let's see, to the higher thing. All right. So greater and higher is always an attitude adjustment. We've got to adjust the attitude so we can go higher up and deeper in, all right? But this particular element for today, this attitude, this ton of tude that we carry, has to do with certain things. And I want to bring this out, and I want to help you in this coaching scope deal with three. You know, I only have three, just three things that we're going to focus on if we're going to deal with the challenges, we're going to deal with the situations, we're going to deal with the people. There are people that really challenge my attitude, right? There are children in my family that challenge my attitude. There is a man that I pull sheets with. His name is Pastor William Powell, that will then challenge my attitude, right? There are people in my congregation, people in my business, people in my sphere that can challenge my attitude. But what I understand is there's a reward if I respond correctly. There's a reward if I don't maintain a predisposition and tendency to always look at it the same way. I've got to make an adjustment. Come on, tap, 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 tap. You and I have to make an adjustment. We cannot just roll out and roll forward, come on, and say, this is the way I've always done it. You can't have attitude in your neck. You can't have attitude in your head. You can't have attitude in your heart and think that you're going to get the good reward that Christ promises us. Come on, I'm talking straight at you today. You can't get the reward and the recompense for all of your labor and your goodness if you miss it in attitude. Your attitude is judging you. Your attitude is defining you. Your attitude is either pushing you forward or pulling you back. Are y'all listening to me? Tap, 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 tap. You and I have to make an adjustment to our attitude if we're going to advance forward in our life, ministry, and business. I'm coaching. Yolanda Powell is coaching you. You cannot keep the same old mindset, the same old attitude that is filled with dislike, with disdain, with some kind of, sense of conspiracy theory that everybody's against me, that I can't seem to make it, that I can't seem to, I don't care where you live. I don't care what continent you hail from. I don't care what your family situation. I'm talking to you about what's inside, not what's outside. I'm not talking about what your mama did and what your cousin said and what your boss, I'm talking about what's inside of you. I'm talking about your disposition, about your tendency, about your challenge and how you respond and how you come forward, because you are great. I done told you this is not about that I can't. You can. It is not like I'll never. You will. It is not like, well, it won't. It will happen, and it must, because you are the one we're waiting on. And I need you to know that you are the next one to stand in the line. You are the next one to take the baton. You are the next one to open your mouth and change the trajectory of the planet. I'm not just talking. I know what God has told me about his body. I know that there are those who have just been the foot, who've just been the elbow, who've just been the wrist, or who've been the ankle, people that seem to not show forth anything, who've not had a voice, who've not had a presence. But baby, if you ain't got an ankle, you ain't got a foot. If you don't have a wrist, you don't have a hand. If you don't have a neck, you don't have a head. So I'm talking to those parts of the body, those parts of who Christ is that has seemingly been unrecognized, but I'm doing an assessment and I'm doing an apostolic analysis, and I'm telling the whole body that every part, according to Paul's writing to the Corinthians, is necessary. Am I helping some people? Okay. She said, I received that. And so listen, let's look at these three things. The first thing that we need to do, and oh Lord, I am running on 2 minutes here. The first thing that we need to do in adjusting our attitude and making the necessary shifts and the necessary changes is that we've got to first do something that I have learned. And I want to tell you this story. I have learned to love life more than stuff. And I want to give you that as a coaching point number 1, that we learn to love life more than life's stuff. And the reason we do that is because stuff will change. Stuff will shift. Stuff will get too small. Stuff will get too old. Stuff will not shine as bright as the day you bought it. Stuff will kind of lose its luster after a week or 2 or 3. And so you and I have to not learn to live our life based on stuff. We got to thank God for the breath. Ooh. I thank God for the eyes. I thank God that I can hear. I thank God that when I eat food, I can taste what's spicy and what's sweet. I thank God for my tongue and for all of the parts of salty and spicy. I thank God for the ability to have decibels in my ear that causes a range of sound. Come on, love life. This will adjust our attitude. If we focus more on life and less on stuff, we'll do well. Number two, I've got to run. Number two is failure is a life fuel. Say that. Failure is a life fuel. So we don't get upset when we fail. We don't get upset when it doesn't work out. We don't get a bad attitude. We don't get a nasty disposition. Come on. Failure is a fuel for my life. Come on. And if you're trying to launch a label, I see that, then you're going to come through some pieces. It's not going to always work well. It's not going to always go right. But what we're going to do, listen, is we're going to, each time we fail, we're going to have a consultation with failure. We're going to learn its lessons. We're going to ask the questions. Tell me why. Tell me when I shifted. Tell me how it happened. Tell me what I should do the next time. In order to learn from our failure and to make it a fuel for our life, we're just going to have to sit down and work through it. We're not going to run from it. We're not going to cry over it. We're not going to resist it. We're not going to hide. We're not going to put our head in the sand. When failure comes, and it will come a whole lot of times. Why? Because it's a taskmaster. It is sent to teach you. It is sent to help you develop mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional muscle. You will learn more. So, all right, first thing is love life, don't love stuff, right? And then the second thing is failure is a life fuel. So we allow it, and then we learn from it, and we consult with it, all right? And then the third thing on this quick lunch scope, brunt scope, dent scope, is that we trust our life process. Come on, trust your life process and be patient with the time it takes. Be patient with the time it takes. Don't get to rushing. Don't get to try to pushing things into happenstance. Don't try to fake it to make it. Don't try to push anybody over to get to the floor before they do. Don't try to run. Don't try to kick anybody under their shin. Don't do that. Just trust your life process. Why am I saying that? Because God created us with uniqueness. When Christ created you, he created you uniquely. He created you individually. He created a time. He created a place. He created a door. He created an opportunity that is uniquely for your life, your ministry, your family, and your business. So we're not in competition. Come on, tap, 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 tap. I'm almost there. We're not in competition. We are on a timed capsule of the Christos of God. He knows exactly where you should be, exactly who you will meet tomorrow, exactly when you will take that turn into the next thing. Listen, I used to suffer with this. This is what I want to do before I close, and I'm going to be probably over 1 minute if that's okay. I used to suffer from this. Whenever I would go out to speak, and I've been speaking, this will be my 35th year in ministry, my 35th year come this October. And what I used to do, so 30 years ago or so, is whenever I would get the opportunity to teach something or speak in my church or say something to the women's group or do something like publicly, I would come home and I would spend the next 3 days just beating myself up. I would say, why did you say that? And you forgot that, and you left that out, and you didn't do that. And for days, I would not be able to sleep. I would not be able to eat. I was just so critical. I was so judgmental until I learned, wait a minute, how are you ever going to be better if you're always tearing yourself down? If your attitude is always negative, if you can never really go back and look at the good stuff and the great stuff. What did you do well, Yolanda? How did you really deliver? Did you see the people who were blessed? Did you see the lady whose eyes sparked up? And so I'm saying to you, after 30 years of learning, and I've been done this for years and years and years, but I want you to know that I know you and I know what you're doing. Many times you're tearing down. Many times your attitude is not against other people as much as it is against yourself. So you've got to learn to love life and not stuff. Learn that fuel is the fuel that you need for your life comes from your failure. So you'll consult with that. And finally, trust the life process. Not everybody's life process. your life process, your individual process, what God has uniquely for you. All right, I am Dr. Yolanda Powell. This has been our Power Coaching Scope, and we are so committed to helping you grow, helping you get taller, helping you take your stance on top of the 7 mountains. If I'm helping you, please come on my Facebook page. Please visit me there, Yolanda Powell on my public page, and then Yolanda Powell Transcontinental on my business page. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to embrace you. I know that I've been seeing some things here about your businesses and your ideas. We'd love to connect. So let me